Distant silhouettes, empty horizons. Sing a still duet, affections tighten. Kindred ribbons spring us from our tethers. Rivers drifting vivid and together. Stay by my side. Soft songs in harmony. Stay by my side. Companions kind now, you and me. Surf the golden waves on silken highways, painting flowing braids in sunken byways. Spacious flowing bold and ever climbing. Gracious moments hold us intertwined. Stay
Hello! How is everyone? And why has the microphone broken yet again? Let's see if this fixes it. Microphone is still broken, even though I am running a new version. Anyway, how is everyone today? I hope you are all doing well on this fine Saturday. I say fine, it is cold, it is cloudy, and it has been raining, and probably will continue to rain, but that's what counts as fine for here. It's certainly a lot better than last weekend. I'm still recovering from that. My sleep schedule has been, shall we say, a bit messed up by it. So I am still trying to get a good night's sleep. I haven't had one in, well, a week. So hopefully I'll be able to get a good night's sleep tonight. Feel better. But yeah, depending on how much my brain flags over the afternoon, this may be a bit of a shorter stream. May only go until about half 3-ish rather than till 4, but we'll see. But yes, welcome to the stream. If you have not been here before, I am Buggy, and I write Mac and iOS software, and I do so on this spaceship. This here is my robot avatar, so nice to meet you. But yes, this is my spaceship where we do things, and there have been a few changes. I don't believe the model has updated at all, but the Pilkybot has. Goes a bit faster. And I can now turn towards camera, which is a big plus. There are also some other things that I've added, but I may look at those later. Hey Kieran! Thank you for the raid! How did your stream end? Sorry I couldn't catch too much of the end of it. I just managed to see some of the end when you were working on the putting the apron on the bird over the jumper, a t-shirt, a cardigan. I couldn't remember what you said it was, but it's looking pretty good. So how are you? I'm just saying that we have some simple new stuff moving around like so. The microphone's still broken, but there may, just maybe, something new in the channel points. What could that be? Who could possibly know what is in the channel points? You just have to go and look at the channel points and see if there's something there that was not there before that maybe does something on the stream. This is such a better control scheme than what I've had previously. But yes, let us go and get some work done. And we'll see what happens with the channel points when they happen. So, this is why I added that feature, because I can go, I can position myself, and then turn around and see. Things messed up a bit. Well, hopefully, yeah, raiding is a bit hard to get used to because you sort of raid, but you have to be actually watching the stream to actually get the stuff, so you probably need to start watching the stream before you start the raid, but welcome. And yes, as I was saying, there may, just maybe, something in the channel points that can be tried out. Well, of course, only if you want to spend the channel points. What was that? Curious. Wonder if something in here? Oh dear. Seem to be bugs appearing. I haven't even started coding yet. Oh, there we go. Little X tokens with bugs on them. Now, I am planning on doing some stuff with them because, for example, if I'm still in the same place, they end up stacking because they hit me and then they bounce off because they're firing at the same position to the same position. So I want to add a little bit of randomness in how they get thrown. I want to add a little bit of randomness in the size. I want to have all three colours of bugs, so the RGB bugs. But yeah, I also want to change it so that at the moment I'm using the character control in Unity, which means that if I go, I'm moving over these, and you can see that I'm moving up and down and up and down. I need to change myself to be a rigid body so that I can actually push these out the way. But yeah, I'm going to tweak them. It was hard coming up with a model because I want the bug. I like the bug image. The problem is, it's a lot of polygons if I do it in 3D, and I have done it in 3D. You just end up with like a few hundred faces, which if it's something that you want to throw lots of into the scene, probably not. So for now, I've just created these like little hex frisbee things because that ends up being 8 faces, which is a lot simpler to throw stuff in. I don't know whether I'll change them into bug cubes or something, or even basic bug spheres, just like a basic UV sphere or something. But for now, it's hexes. I mean, I want to. I think maybe if I make them bigger, it would work. But yeah, we'll see. This is just me playing around, but we have our first thing in, so we may play around with that. Probably not today, maybe tomorrow or Monday. But yeah, for now, let's get back into some Coppice coding, because I've not been able to touch Coppice since, well, last Saturday, because I had to skip the stream on Monday and Sunday last week because of the heat, and then Wednesday I was still recovering from the heat, and yes, today is the first time I've got onto Coppice. My brain is still recovering due to the lack of sleep, but we will see how things go today. What I do need to do is update this. So, I believe I had a to-do in Media Writer. No. model writer. No, it wasn't there. Where did I put that to? Model P list. There we go. So versioned P lists. P list returns imported model types and P list migration. So the thing of use P list for saving, I think I was going to avoid for now, for the simple reason because I'm just going to keep it simple and you just save the latest P list, but for reading in maybe we don't need to return the supported model type. Yeah, what we need to do is get the version, and then from the version we can find the P-list version to use. And then I was going to make this into something a bit more generic. Make everything a bit more generic. Because you can always have versions and settings, and then it's just a case of what P-lists and stuff are you adding. And if you've got the P-list version, you can use that for all sorts of interesting bits and pieces. Okay. So I think in model reader, all of this stuff, I just want to right, so the steps for doing this is when we load in, I'm going to get the P-list dictionary here, and then what we want to do, get the model, and that will get the version, and that will let us determine the actual P-list type. Then for reading, if the document version is greater than P-list. No, I want to make sure the document version is greater than equal to the P-list version. The P-list version is too new, then we're going to return an error because we don't want an old version opening a newer version if it can't. But for a new version, Like if we're opening an old document, well, if we're opening a current document, then they're going to be equal. It's going to be fine. We just load using the latest thing. If it is an older version, then we want to do migration. Now the thing with the migration is, how do we want to do the migration? I'm kind of tempted to do the migration on the plist level. So if you get, for example, a version 1 plist, it will generate a version 2 plist. I could potentially convert this. So at the moment, if I go to Canvas and I look at, for example, a plist representation here. Got all the, so those are all string. How would I actually? Because it would be really nice to make it so plist representation returns of type plist keys. Problem is, now the keys would be plist keys because then it would just simplify things a bit. Problem there is that needs to be defined on the protocol. So the associated type would have to be of type plist key. Yeah. Because it's an enum of type keys, but the thing is, it depends on the specific implementation, because this is defined in collectible in here. And you can't really do that, so you could potentially, rather than an enum, we have a row representable struct, and then each type can then extend that. Then we could do it typed like that. Then we could, but then if we wanted to map those to it, I suppose it doesn't matter. If you've got an ID there and an ID there and an ID, if the string's the same, it doesn't really matter too much. Because you're only wanting to access that. But if you had that, then you've got your concrete types to reference them. And then what we can do is we can actually have, for example, the version 2 plist. Well, actually, because I think we're on version 2 at the moment. So we'd have the version 3 plist, and the version 3 plist would say, okay, here's a version 2 plist, migrate that. So if we ended up with like a version 4 plist and someone opens a version 2, what we can do is, okay, we'll load that with version 2. Then we'll pass the version 2 plist to version 3, and version 3 will basically generate itself using version 2 plist and make any changes that it needs to. And then we'll take the version 3 plist and pass that to the version 4 plist, which will actually generate what it needs to. And then version 4 plist will be used to generate the actual data files. I think that's the approach we're going to take. So, switch to struct for which is struct for key versioned plists plist migration. This is getting to a bunch of low-level stuff that generally I love, all this sort of thing. So what we are going to do is we're going to switch over to M3 data, because a lot of these initial changes are going to be in M3 data. Collectible. So we have all this stuff here. What we want is we want struct model object model plist key, which is going to be raw representable. That's going to throw up an error, which can fix. The raw type is going to be string. I've got raw value. Okay. So we have that there, and then what we can do is an extension to model plist key, which is going to be static let id equals model plist key raw value id. And then what we're going to do is that is going to be a dictionary of model plist key. That is going to be a dictionary of model plist key. And that is going to be a dictionary of model plist key. Not conform to hashable. Well, we can make it conform to hashable. And we want this to be public struct with public init and the public raw value. Right, so we run our tests and we're going to work from the lowest level up. Does not conform because these want to be model plist key. Got hiccups. Hey. So how are people's Saturday afternoons going? And 3 tests, so they have all worked. Right, so one thing that I can do, potentially, if I go to model, model plist. So this is currently in Coppice core. Now what I can potentially do is get rid of these, and rather than this being a struct, if I was to turn it into a class, I could have the basic stuff here. Or we can store the version, store the settings. I think doing this as what is saved does make sense as well. Because rather than like setting a version fix, but all of these things will not. Because I'm also thinking this in terms of streamline, because this is going to affect streamline as well. Rather than this, I could have a single thing that has my object types or whatever, and I can pass in an object type and have that basically say, okay, this is my canvas, like this is my collection name for persistence, and then I could make it a bit more generic. So in the model plist, most of this is going to be most of it is going to be fixed, because then you could just say I'm going to create, yeah, you would initialize the plist with the, no you wouldn't, you'd create a subclass which defines what types it supports, likely through a static method, and then the subclass you could do this, but then you could have a migrate method which you implement in the subclass, which defines, yeah, that could work, because then all of this vanishes and it becomes generic between the apps then, and then it can move to M3 data. And the only thing that you need in the app is a subclass of it, which is going to do the migration and define, okay, I support these particular types, so it knows what plist types to look for. Because then it would, for example, ignore canvas links. And what we could potentially do is have the plist no, because if it's newer, then it's not going to load the canvas links at all. It's not going to care they're there. It shouldn't even be loading it. If the version, like the version needs to be equal to or lower than this. Actually, it needs to be equal because we want it to pass in like a version 2 into a version 2, which is then going to spit out version 3, and the version 3 will then read that in. Okay, so we'll do it that way. Right, let's get some fresh coffee. It's pretty quiet as well, which is nice. Yeah, it's always nice having a quiet Saturday. I have, well, besides the constantly waking up overnight, which, sorry if you hear me yawning, but my brain is still yawning a lot. This morning I basically tidied up the kitchen, played some Power Wash Simulator, because I'm wanting to finish that off. And yeah, went out to Lidl to get some baked goods. I got some very nice croissants for my to eat. Right, so we want to switch this up for plist keys. Then we want to abstract model plist to make model plist class in data. Because then this is where things can get interesting. So we have our model reader here where we read stuff in, and here we get the wrapper, we get the data, but then we can do a model plist where we can tell the model plist, here's some data, it can load it in, validate it, migrate it, if we give it a model controller, it can update the settings, create and delete objects of type. So you do that. So this could be, right, let me open. Because I believe I have model reader and model writer in line. Yes, model reader. So we load it, load the plist, and we create all that stuff. So create objects of I. That is. Let's just close that, close that. Let's get this down and compare these. So you update the object, say I want to go through that. Back up. So item update from plist representation, plist item. So this is doing all the stuff in model files, which again could be abstracted. There's nothing Coppice specific. Yeah, there's nothing Coppice specific in here because you add items, just add item. We'd probably want to unify this to like invalid plist type, version, new missing collection, missing ID. There's nothing in model reader that has to be in Coppice. This could be used here if, and this is the key if, we define what these are. The only thing that is specific to Coppice and specific to Streamline is this. Now Streamline did have set up library track where you go in there and you create a plist. But there's no reason for that to be in the model reader because we read from there and then we do that. That's something that we do at the end, so that could be done in here. Okay. So therefore we get to model writer. You really missed the pizza breads from Lidl. I haven't actually had the pizza breads from Lidl. The ones that they do in the bakery, like I think they do like a vegetable pizza thing and so on that are sold, I think, cold. So right, what do we have here? So the model writer here is very simple. We just create plist of all the things we want, throw the settings in as well, and we write it out. We're not writing the version, so that does complicate things. Well, it doesn't really complicate things. That's something that we need to do in Streamline. Now the complicated thing here is here we just say get the collection, get all persistent things, and get the plist representations. But over here we're calling generate data, and I have just realised. Let's increase our font sizing. So model controller, track collection, get all the ones that we want to persist because some things are not persistent. That's something that we've done in Streamline. And then we get the plist representation. and then we add to the P list. What we do here, and this generates a file wrapper. Which gives us data. Right. So the writers are very different to a degree. The model writer here generates a file wrapper. Used to get them all the time for the fiancé a few years ago. Well, they may have to try them sometime. I usually just go for the croissants. Occasionally go for the fresh bread, but also the jam donuts. Lidl's jam donuts are the best jam donuts. They're just so fresh and fluffy. Just the right amount of, like, not really crispiness, but like crispier on the outside, like denser on the outside, but just the perfect amount of fluffiness, and then packed with the jam. They're just so good. A lot of people sort of underestimate Lidl. They think it's, oh, just go there, it's cheap stuff. And yes, it is cheap, but it's also so good. Right. So, what can we do here? This is generating the file wrapper. Now, the thing is, this is actually, so if we generate data, what that is getting for us from here is going through the collection. We're sorted by the UUID, so we get some sort of deterministic thing. And then plist object, get the representation, map the values. And then if any of them are model files, we files.append file, and return the plist representation. So yeah, we convert the file to a plist representation. Add the files to the files we want, do the plist, and then we've got a plist and files. And what that does is that gets us the items we want, and the content, which gets appended to all the content stuff. Then we create, in this case, we create a plist data, and then we get a file wrapper, which regular file with contents, blah blah blah. And we create directory with the file wrappers, data plist, and the content. That's going to get file wrapper for the content. Which is basically going to be file name with the data. Okay. And then we get file wrapper. Okay, and where is this called from? Oh, because it's Xcode 14. I wish on the stream there you could have stuff that is pointing to like you could have multiple apps assigned to a page. But anyway, colors, document, file wrapper of type. So that goes there and generates a file wrapper. So what we could do, model writer, would take a model controller and a list of all things, because the model controller can return all things it handles. So model controller, list of things it wants to write. See, what would be useful is for the model writer to say, use this plist type, and it would basically do like create the plist, because then the version would come from the plist type, and the settings would, yeah, and settings we can pull out the model control, they can pull out the model control. So we settle that on the plist, and then we can basically get the data from the plist. The thing that complicates it is needing these, because for a document-based app you want to get, ideally, as a file wrapper so that it can write to disk, because a file wrapper basically represents a it represents either a file or a directory on disk. It's like an abstract thing. So we create a file wrapper with regular file contents here, and then here we get a file wrapper where we create them with the contents as data and a file name, and create a directory file wrapper, and then we just output that. Hey Sinister, it is going fairly well. How are things going with you? You may notice something a bit different, at least if I go over here. There seem to be some things on the ground. So yeah, some stuff happened. Oh, has pub-sub broken? Pub-sub might. Oh no, it is working. There we go. It's just it sometimes clips through me. Okay, well I'll probably fix that when I get round to creating myself as a rigid body. But yes, I have bugs all over the place now. Fairly simple at the moment, but I'm going to do some tweaks to them, but something that you can do. Ooh, there's one. And there's an entire screen, potentially, of them. But we have the first bit of Twitch integration. So yeah, we have the file wrapper. So yeah, it's taken a while to do, Sinister, but I'm glad you like it. It is at the moment it literally just fires from the camera at the monitor on my head. Oh, I'm sure you've got a lot of ammunition, but I'm going to be making things even better. Oh, I hadn't counted for that. As they go below me, I end up shooting above them. But yeah, they sort of all just stack up, so I need to add a bit more randomness to them. I want to add randomness to the size, so you can get some big ones, some small ones. Maybe it will depend on like your status. So like if you're following, they're a bit bigger. If you're subscribed, they're a bit bigger. If you're like a VIP or a mod, they're a bit bigger. So stuff like that. So I also want to have random colours and just give a bit of randomness in where they're shooting, and maybe change the shape because they go kind of flat on the floor and you don't really see them at that much. So I may make them into like cubes or very low poly spheres. So we'll see. I was initially looking at potentially like almost, because initially I'd made them. In fact, let me show you the model. I show this was the initial plan. I wanted to do something like this, but the problem is it's too many polygons. So if I select this 122 faces, 242 vertices, which is, I mean, my machine can handle it, but oh wait, is that, no, sorry, 114 faces, 343 vertices. Whereas this one, I don't even need to use Blender to calculate it. It's what, 12 vertices and 8 faces. Now, what I may consider, one thing I was thinking about was, you know, the rubber bouncy balls that you can get that are see-through, but they have stuff inside them, or dice that have stuff inside of them. I was thinking maybe you would do something like, I mean, if I did an icosphere and I gave it a, let's make it just a material that's got alpha, and if I go down and get, where is it, blend mode, alpha blend. So actually that looks better if it has that in there. And let's just use alpha and let's just rotate like so. Good. So maybe something like that, because I mean, this is the thing, I was wanting not to do the same thing as Doig or Gwillem, because Doig has the bombs, that sort of fly and then just explode. Willem has the beach balls. And I was thinking, do I want to do like a ball? But I don't think I can get around it, because just simply it just makes it a lot more interactive and like in the environment, and people can see them a bit more. But yeah, oh yeah, make them bounce as though they are rubber balls. Yeah, just doing. I mean, even that. How many polygons? That's 42 vertices and 80 faces. But I could probably might be able to make it lower. What about a UV sphere? Because I could make that 8 at 8. Do 6. Add that. This. Then. Actually, that fits. Because I like the hexagon being inside. Like, I may even tweak it so that it's just like bisecting it, but I think even just the hexagon looking like that looks good. But that is, oh, that's the same. No, it's the same number of vertices, is it? 42 vertices. Okay, so it's the number of faces. That's 42 vertices with 80 faces, and that's 42 vertices with 48 faces. That's 80 oh, they're both 80 triangles though. I may go for an icosphere then, because if it's effectively the same number of vertices and tries, but you're getting more faces for that, then effectively, because the faces don't really matter as much, I don't think. It is the, because everything ultimately goes down to triangles in the end anyway. So maybe that does. Because I mean, how many tries is that? 444. So yeah, I think having this inside a clear sphere, like. Make it, yeah. So yeah, I think something like that maybe, we may play around with that. And yeah, if I can make them bouncy, that work. But what I want to do is, before I tweak them to do that, I want to rewrite my character controller to be to use rigid body. So the two different things is the main character controller, you can have a collider on it so it will bump into things, and it does certain things such as like going upstairs and stuff really well, and you can tell it to move in certain directions. It automatically does a lot of useful stuff. But if you want to interact with the world in a physics way, it doesn't. And this is something I've been learning while I've been doing this, is that If you want to interact in terms of I've hit a collider and I stop, okay, the character control is fantastic. If I want to have stuff in the world that for example, like Gwilym moving through his ball pit, you need a rigid body, where you take a bit more control over how it moves, but any other rigid bodies will interact with it because it's in the physics system. So like, you can throw something at it, and it will just bounce off. Because you are controlling when it actually moves, but it will move other stuff. So rather than moving up and over the bugs on the floor, which is what the character controller would do, I would like move them out the way. Right, so let's have a think about this. So the model reader, I'll control that. So that is reading in a file wrapper, and that is generating a file wrapper. So it's not reading to disk, it's not writing to disk. However, Streamline is writing to disk and is reading from disk. Right. So there are two ways around this. The first way because that is going to read from a URL, which URL is URL appending path component library.plist. So we could have Streamline change return a file wrapper, and then what the file wrapper can do is you have library and you'd have content. Like you could define, is this data, like what is the name of this? Because then I think file wrapper can write this. Yeah, right to this. So what if, so this is where we could work around this. Rather than generate file wrapper, it generates file wrappers. Then what it will do is it will give us our data plist wrapper and our content file wrapper back. And then this bit is handled higher up, where we define, okay, our data plist, or rather our plist wrapper is going to be called data.plist. The content file wrapper is going in the directory called content, and that's going in a file wrapper here. Whereas in Streamline, we'll get these back. We're going to ignore the content because we're not using that in Streamline. We're handling it differently. And then we basically just ignore that one, get that one, and write that to library.plist. So I think that's the way we're going to go about it. We're going to standardize on file wrappers. So Streamline's going to have to change to use file wrappers, but Coppice is going to have to change basically to shift some of this up. And what that allows us to do is move model writer into M3 data and make it generic. which also gonna have your model controller, so that so we got our model controller there, which is a protocol which is implemented by Coppice model controller. Yes. So that adds all those there, and then you can go through the model types and do that. So all of these we can simplify because we can if we have something that will can you define a standard initializer and an extension? No, you can't. But we can define a method that will add all our model collections. That we can basically add onto here and get rid of all this if, like the stuff here, because we're going to find all those. So therefore all we need to do is all the stuff do here, which is all of the custom stuff. Okay. So 1, 2. Make a model. When I redesign the overlay, it's going to be a lot better. I mean, one thing I can potentially do, now I have all the Twitch stuff working, is potentially I could have the chat inside of Unity. Now, it's a bit, like quite a bit of work to get that working, but it is something that I could potentially do. I mean, I definitely want to redesign all this because, for example, I may do it where rather than have the screen be like take up the full thing, I may end up like doing what a lot of people do, and I think Kieran, you do it, where I shrink it down a bit. Now I've been a bit wary of that because, I mean, the stream is 1080p, but my screen is technically 1440p. It's actually 5K scaled down to 4K on my display, which is then brought to 1440, which is like read as, may even be read as 4K rather than 1440p, but either way it's scaling it down to 1080p already, so scaling it down a bit more may affect things a bit, so I'm not sure. But what that would do is, rather than the sidebar, allow me to have like a permanent chat down the side. If I was to make it, like, customize it more, make it a lot thinner, that could work. And then I could have a bar at the bottom. The problem is fitting the tasks and stuff, but whether I fit those, like... I basically want to redesign the overlay, so... like the actual... the stuff that appears above the Unity part of the overlay, so... I'll work that out at some point. It requires watching a lot of streams and getting ideas. I'm a bit inspired by watching Invisiguy's stream and seeing how slick his chat looks. Hi Uli, how are you doing? And yeah, Kevin, it does take a lot of stuff to get the font looking good. There are two options I'm looking at for the fonts. Because at the moment I'm using Proxima Nova because that's what I use on the Coppice website. Now, because this is becoming more than just a Coppice development stream, it's more like an M-cubed development stream in a sense. I'm probably going to change that. I mean, the YouTube channel is probably still going to mostly be, like, say, it's about Coppice and stuff, but I'll probably make this more like an M-cube development stream, something like that, which means that I'll probably change the font, and that allows me to choose one of two fonts that I could potentially do. The first font I could potentially do is what I have here, which is JetBrains Mono, which is an extremely good free to use programming font by JetBrains that has cool things such as these ligatures here. So rather than doing rather than it showing like that without the space, if I press that, it converts it into one thing. So I could do a monospace font. Panic Sans. Panic Sans is a modified version of Deja Vu Sans. So I was actually using... yeah, so Panic Sans, looking at it, it seems, from what I've shown online, is it is a modified version of Deja Vu Sans. Now, Deja Vu Sans is what I used before, so if I... No, I don't want that. I think I still have a Deja Vu Sans themes. No, that's SF Mono. Oh, because I don't have Deja Vu Sans installed. Deja Vu Sans is pretty popular. And it has been used by a lot of things. For example, I believe the Menlo font is based off of Deja Vu Sans. Hugo and Dev, thank you for following. Hope you are doing well today and hope you're enjoying the stream. But yeah, Deja Vu Sans, I believe Menlo is based on Deja Vu Sans, so they're all a similar thing. So I may go that route, but the other route that I may go really is San Francisco. I may just lean into the fact that I'm a Mac dev, an iOS dev, I'll just make the overlay in San Francisco. And the reason for doing that is that San Francisco is specially designed to work well at small sizes. I'm not sure if San Francisco is based on anything. Menlo definitely is. Menlo font. Menlo is based on the open source font Bitstream, Vera, and Deja Vu. Whereas San Francisco... Yeah, Wikipedia just says it's inspired by Helvetica, which makes sense. Yeah, it's Bitstream, Vera, and Deja Vu. This is Deja Vu Sans Mono, which is a very, very nice font. It has a few issues, but it's generally very nice. But yeah, San Francisco just seems to be based on Helvetica and Din, which don't seem to be a thing. But yeah, San Francisco, like the fonts they have, are that good now that I might as well use them because, like I say, they are designed for small sizes. So it seems like a fairly good opportunity to use these things. So right. So model control clutch types. I am just going to, because we've done a lot of planning, a lot of talking, and mapping it out. Lucida Grande was very good. I use that a lot. Of course, I also remember Charcoal. Was it Charcoal was part of the Platinum UI, which was an update to Chicago, which was the original Mac, or was it the other way around? Because there was the original San Francisco font as well on the Mac that was very different to the San Francisco to today. So maybe it was Chicago that then became Charcoal, but then I think they used Chicago on the iPod rather than Charcoal. In other words, Chicago and Charcoal were very good fonts for the time, and they still are now. I still like the style of those fonts. Lucida Grande was nice, but probably not the best, though Helvetica wasn't much better as a UI font, whereas San Francisco is. But yeah, so I'm going to take a short break to make myself another cup of tea, because I'm still extremely tired and need my brain working. And then we'll go through probably another hour or so, and try and get a bunch of this done, because I know what I'm doing now with all this, so hopefully a lot of it should be relatively fast to do. There you go. Oh, glad you're liking Coppice. Yeah, Coppice is what we are currently working on, so if you have any questions, just pop them in chat. I'm happy to answer them. Like I say, I'm just going to step away for a few minutes just to get a cup of tea, and when I come back I'll be able to answer any questions and we'll be able to continue working on. And thank you very much for the subscription, it's much appreciated. Hopefully one day I will have something more than just a little thing in the bottom corner show up when someone subscribes. I have great plans. Thank you very much for the support, it's much appreciated. Anyway, I will see you all in however long it takes a kettle to boil.
Smoke over the city soul pollutes our sons and daughters. Ooh. You can fall asleep on sheets of gold and wake up as a pauper. We all get old, we all slow down as the worlds they close. We fall, we drown in our need, some breathing space. I won't grow old with grace. I need some breathing space. I can't keep living straight. Oh, we ain't gonna linger and wallow when there's hard cash coming back. No way, I'll just sit here when I know that there's hard cash coming back. Hard cash. Don't want no easy money. Oh no. Money couldn't buy me happiness, just a prettier misery. There's a price to pay for a life of luxury. Oh, the air is thin, the glare, the smoke and the wear within. It tears, it's choking. I need some breathing space. I won't grow old with grace. I need some breathing space. I can't keep living straight. Oh, we ain't gonna linger and wallow when there's hard cash coming back. No way, I'll just sit here when I know that there's hard cash coming back. Hard cash. We ain't gonna linger and wallow when there's hard cash coming back.
Okay, I am back.
We ain't gonna linger and wallow when there's hard cash
Oh dear. I wasn't even touching my computer, and all these bugs appeared. Oh. Oh my.
Don't want no easy money.
Well, that made a mess. I definitely think changing those into some sort of bowl that can roll around would be a lot more fun. But I'm the king of the bug castle. I have no idea how it could have happened. Maybe they came from space. Oh, you want me to clean up the spaceship? Well, thankfully, I did have the option to well, do that. But I'll show you at the end of the stream. Let's see how well this can go. I mean, it shouldn't really slow down the computer that much. I'm pretty sure there are more polygons in my character than there are in all of the all of these bugs that are out here at the moment. There are definitely more in the control panel. But yes, so let's get back into this. I still want to know why the microphone wasn't working, because when I first opened the overlay, it was working. This is why I need to add some sort of UI so that I can show this stuff up and debug it and work out why it doesn't work. Yeah, the bug scrolling around, I mean, that could work. I think what I'm considering is doing them a bit like I was showing Sinister and Kieran earlier, like bouncy ball things, where you can get like a bouncy ball or a dice or something that has like something embedded in, so it will be the bug embedded in a translucent sphere, and then you can throw it and then it would just bounce around the screen like a rubber ball sort of thing. Oh, and then when I get it so that I have arms, I could have one thing where I go into bug catcher mode, where my arms come out and one of them's got like, you know, those weird, almost like a door sticker hat that you see on people like who used to go around going to catch butterflies and stuff. One of those and a net, and then I've got to go around and catch the bugs that are bouncing around. This is the problem of building your overlay in Unity. You end up with so many ideas. Right. So, what we wanted to do here is we're going to ignore Streamline for now. And we are going to get this working in Coppice, because what we're currently doing is refactoring all of our M3, all of our data stuff. So for those of you who weren't here early on, what we're wanting to do, the overall goal is in Coppice you have, in fact, let me launch Coppice. No, that is not Coppice. That is Coppice. Sample document. So what we're doing for this next version of Coppice is we're going to be changing how linking happens. So at the moment, the way linking happens is you have a page, which is an object here. You have a canvas, which is this overall thing here. And each instance of a page on a canvas is called a canvas page. Why? Because if I do this and type pages, I have the same page multiple times on a canvas. Why is that? Well, let's say we've got pages here. If I no, I don't want to do that. I want to link to pages, and I click on that. It opens the page again, because my initial view was, okay, it's useful to have pages appearing multiple times on the canvas. The problem is that some people don't want that. Some people want it where you would get this. So this links to pages, but this links to pages. People also want to be able to like draw a link. So when I created that pages thing there, well, I have to create it then open the page. What I can't do is have pages and then create a link and link it to this. So what I'd like to be able to do is you'll be able to like select this and then maybe like right click drag or shift drag or some sort of drag onto a page. It will create a link to that page and actually draw the arrow. And the thing there is, well, if I allow that, what if someone drags to this one? How does that work? So what we're doing is, at the moment, these links are just defined as parent-child relationships. So you would have these are these canvas pages are children of this page. If I delete that, this is a child of that page, and if I have just a plain page on it. So it has no children, has no parent. This one has no parent. What I'm going to be doing is changing it where you have the canvas pages, but then there's going to be a new thing which is going to be a canvas link. So you're going to be able to link any page to any other page, and what this will allow you to do is you'll be able to have Coppice work exactly the same way, but you will also be able to say, I want these all to link to the same thing, like change the mode so by default when you open it will link to all the same page, or if you do happen to have multiple pages it will link to whatever the closest one is. You will also be able to do things such as hover over a link on the page and it will highlight it. You'll be able to hover over the link and it will highlight it on the page. So it's basically making these links on the canvas a lot more useful. You'll be able to have multiple pages linking into a page, whereas at the moment you can only ever have one, and basically give you a lot more flexibility in how all this stuff will work. Problem is, that requires a new data model, and the new data model requires this canvas link, and what I realized with the canvas link is while I have set things up so that I can add properties to something and it's all fine, I cannot add new types. And okay, that seems fine to begin with. I just don't have to read in if they don't exist. The problem is the way everything is set up is that if they don't exist, then it throws an error because it's invalid. Except every document out there doesn't have this, so every document is now invalid. So what I need to do is basically change all this so that I can version things. And because I'm using all of this stuff in Streamline as well, I'm redoing a lot of this to basically work in a more abstract way. Invent aliases for boxes in Coppice and call it a day. I am going to eventually have it where you can link from one canvas to another canvas, so you'll be able to have aliases to canvases. So the first thing we're going to do is simplify this stuff here. So we're going to have a static var collectible object types, which is going to be get.type get. Or do I have to define that as a class? Class properties only allowed in classes. Use static. Okay. The protocol collectible model object must be any dot type. Okay. And then we also want model collection. Actually, we don't even need that on the protocol. That can be defined down here, click model. And what we're going to do here is for object type in after object types, we have to add model collection for object type. Type of expression is ambiguous without more context. What? Is that because it compiles? Okay, I'll just have to do it this way. But can I even call self.collection for object? What more context do you need? It is a collectible model object dot type. Collection for some type T, where T is a collectible model object, so it's collectible object dot type. I could do let types equal canvas.self, canvas page.self, page.self, .self. That's smart enough to work out. Those are NS objects of type, but any actual model type 2, and that should be valid. Okay. For type in types. That is going to be that. Self.add model collection for object type. This is why I hate type systems. Because stuff that you write the code and it's like, I know what I want you to do. And I know that you should be able to do this. Can't. Okay. So we're not going to be able to do adding. But we can handle that better. does kind of data. But the thing is, you're getting a collection for the type. But the thing is, where else are we using that type? Nowhere. So we can't. Okay. So we can save this. Model controller, aren't I? So what I am currently looking for we cannot create a model collection. Oh yeah. Right. So actually, that's returning a set of T. But we care about the ID, which is on the model object. We care about P, let's represent it. So none of this cares about what type T is. It just cares that it is a collectible model object. Okay, so so we can do this. Model controller. So adding a model collection is unfortunately out. We have to do that manually. However, everything else we can get by... Right, so there's no point having... Actually, no, there is a point in having object types. However, we could create that. May not actually be have object types because everything is stored as a model type. So what we can do here... Hey Afflux, how are you doing today? Happy Saturday to you too. So what we can do here is we can get collection or type, and that will return model collection. But we should be also able to do public function collection for model type. Which is going to return any model collection. Or does it need to be model collection T? T is or is it? It's some. Any model. I don't care about the actual type because what I'm going to do is guard let model equals self dot Old collection model type. But that could be any collection. Okay, is it collection? Any stuff meant to work? I thought you were meant to be able to do, if you have a type, a generic type, you should be able to do any of that type. Well, that scores 14. I think. Yes. If Right. Let's have a look at this. You see if any looks into use some keyword. You can do that, but you can't. Do that as model collection T, else, and that's probably going to complain. Complain there, but it is going to complain further up because to canvas.model type. It's going to complain that it can't get the type information. Because any model object. Oh, can we make that any collectible? Anti-constraint. That's again, this is why I dislike type systems, because you spend so much more time fighting with the type system and then end up having to work around the type system to do what you want, that you end up with more complex codes, which offers more opportunity for bugs, which is the whole thing that a strong type system was meant to fix in the first place. It's the same thing with like declarative UI stuff, that if you work within the bounds it's great, but the minute you want to step outside the bounds you're out of luck. So the type, any collectible model object cannot conform. Does that need to be some? So am I going to have to create an any model collection? Fine. Easy to get all object with ID. I'm going to have to do type erasure on this. And I was wanting to avoid that. And ourselves how type erasure works, because it's been a while since I've done this. We have our protocol. I want to type erase the protocol. Type erase. Alright. Okay, so if we go, what we can do with this is if we bring up model collection. This is the ultimate yak shaving, where by the end of today what we're probably only going to have got done is type erase this. But this is why I've switched to streaming Saturday, Sunday, Monday, so I can get into a flow of things. I would stream a bit later today, but unfortunately I've got to head out for a bit this evening, and then I've got to run a D&D game after that, so a bit time constrained today, but tomorrow and Monday I should be fine. So I'm going to create a type erased version of model collection, but the thing is, the type erased version only needs to know the stuff that we need in a type erased thing. So getting model controller, okay, all getting that as a collectible, just getting as a object with ID. The insert delete stuff we don't need right now. So for most of this we can get rid of. So I'm gonna create this down here for now. And we can actually create it as a struct. Public struct. Actually no, let's keep it as a class, because the places that we're going to be using it are going to be a class. So class model. So for those who have joined chat since I last asked, how are your weekends going? Are you up to anything interesting yourself this fine Saturday? Right, so we want all object with ID contain so for the most part, like for some things like all, that's easy enough to do a cast on. Object with ID, that's easy enough to do a cast on. Well, let's just do file, private, that, public, file private set, now let's do init with, because I can't do it that way. All that any cannot conform to hashable. Of course it can. That'd be a model object then. let's set a model type. The model type is collectible model object. And collectible model object conforms to hashable. What? Okay. Fine, we won't use a set then, we'll use an array. Complain about now. Any collectible model object, okay. We're getting there. Every single time I think, oh, Swift, I really like Swift. Swift is a wonderful language. It then decides to smash me in the face with one of the bits of it that I don't like. Right. So, all object with ID. Which for a function we can yes, so for a function we can do it as a variable. Right, let's just define the functions that we want. So, got all, what object with ID, want contain. Collectible model object. Still seems early, but now doing a bit of ZBrush or contemplating getting another coffee. Oh, since have you seen any of Kieran's streams? I think you'll like them because he does he's building his animator in Blender and ZBrush. So he's actually coming up with quite a nice character. It's coming together quite well. Yeah, if anyone in chat hasn't actually seen his streams, go check out Kieran, who's also building an overlay similar to what I have with a little 3D character who's going to be running around, though he's doing his in Unreal rather than Unity, so he's taking a bit of a different path there, which should be quite interesting because certain things you can do better in Unreal, certain things are a bit different, so if anyone's interested in building something like this in Unreal, he's going down that path. Right. Oh, I can get that. And I'm going to do file private. our object. I was just giving you a shout out, Kieran, pointing out you're doing something similar to what I am. Okay, good. And this is just going to return object with ID imp ID. And then here we are going to do file private var contains object imp, which is going to take any collectible model object, return a bool. And here we're going to return self.contain imp object are false. And file private var all all imp is just going to be nothing that returns any collectible object. That and as an suppose this is return all imp that are empty array. So the reason I'm doing this is that we get here is that I can do extension model collection. Where I can do var do any collection, any model collection, which is going to return an any model collection. And what I do is let collection any model collection turn a collection and then I can do any collection dot all imp equals return self dot all I can actually do array self dot all. Oh yeah, that doesn't want to be a var, that wants to be a font. So that one's simple. Any object with ID imp equals, and we're going to get a model ID in, and what we want to do here is return self.object with ID model ID. should work. And then any collection dot contains dot contains object imp equals, and then this one's going to be slightly different because we're going to get a collectible, get an object. But what we need to do is guard let typed object equals object as model type, else return false, otherwise return self.contains typed object. So the reason we do that is in this case, in the first two cases, we're basically wanting to take a type of, for example, this would be a model collection of pages, and we wanted to convert that to a collection of collectible model objects. Well, pages are already collectible model objects, so we're just basically converting that to an array. That's fine. Same here, object with ID. We're passing in a model ID, and we're returning a collectible model object. So we're going from a specific type here to a less specific type here. But for contains, we're passing in a non-specific type, and we have to go down to the specific type. So with any model collection, you could tell something that is technically pointing to a collection of pages, does it contain a canvas? Which it obviously doesn't. But in order to actually do the proper contains, we need to type it. So the reason this has been done in here is that we have all these implementations that stay private to the model collection, and I can call any of these outside of it and get what I want, but inside it's doing all the conversion. So it makes it a bit annoying that it can't do this for you. At the very least, it's annoying that you can't do it with the stuff where you're going up. Going down I could sort of understand, but it would be nice if there was some way to at least have the compiler do this. Like, at least not have to do the boilerplate, just type some basic stuff and it calculates it, but type erasure. So now that we have that, what I can do is I can go to model controller, and we have collection here, but we can do from any collection for model type, and we can pass the model type there, and then we can return any model collection. And then this can become any collection for model type, any model collection, now what we're going to do here is we can change this to an any model collection up here. So in this case we don't need to cast, we do that, this will be the collection we tap, that doesn't exist, so that's fine, but we have now broken this. That's from any model collection to unrelated type. Well, so what we want to do now is go here, and what we are going to do is we're already strongly holding onto this, so we might as well just do init with, no, we're gonna have to do it Um. So, funk, model collection. There's a T, collectible model object, which is going to return a model collection of type T. And I'm gonna want. How are we going to do this? How am I going to do this? Because I need to be able to go from any to be able to get it back, but I need to be able to cast it. Well, that's a fair point. I'm casting it anyway. In it, model collection. Any. That model collection. Model collection equals model collection, because if you're going to have to type it anyway, then what I could do here is this is going to be do any model collection, so we store that in there. Then to get the underlying model collection, we just do that, get the model collection, cast it to model collection T, which is going to work as well anyway, because we're storing it as any before, so there's no real change here. This, in theory, only fails if you pass in a type that doesn't exist. Okay. And that wants to be model collection health. Okay, we're good. So if I build, that succeeds. Then we get up to here where this does not conform. Why does it not conform? Because all collections should be any. model collection. Okay. Object with data to entry data. Model object. Okay, so this can be, yeah, if that's just doing that, we can do any collectible model object. Okay. And then what we want to do here is any collection for canvas.model type is that, and therefore what we can do is replace all of this with God let collection equals after any collection for id.model type, else assertion failure, model type id.model type does not exist, and no, otherwise return collection.object with id. Oh yeah, that'll do that there, so we don't even need that, we can just do that, get rid of all that, and that becomes a one-liner. So all that complexity that I need to expand every time I add a thing suddenly goes away. So the only thing I need to do when I add a new thing goes there, and then this can vanish from there because it can now go in there because it no longer depends on Coppice. So if I save all that, and voila. So we haven't quite done our first thing here, but we have sort of done it. So yeah. So we can get the explicitly typed one if we need to, which a lot of the time we can do. But for the times where we just want to deal with it in terms of this is something that deals with collectible model objects and we don't care about the specific type, we now have the any collection and we can add anything that we need to do in there on a generic thing into that. And what that is going to allow us to do is model reader and model writer is create and delete objects of type. So these are all the types that we handle. The thing is, we can get the model types here, and all we need to do create and delete collection. Where are we? Collection object with ID. We need to get all. We need to disable undo, delete, and new object. We can do all of that with just a collectible model object, so we can effectively put all those into our any. So in fact, let's do that now. Any model collection. So we're going to want Disable undo. And we're going to want delete. And we're going to want okay. Here, this is going to be any model object. This is going to be any that's one model object, and this is going to be a thing of any one model object. Well, in fact, we can type alias model setup block equals any collectible model object void. Well, reference declares public program user until type public address. Public type alias. And that doesn't have a return. So then we do same thing here, file private var disable undo imp, which is just going to be that with a block that throws void to void. So that's a closure that's going to take a closure, which then all needs to be wrapped into that. And then we can do self.disable undo imp question mark. Call that with the caller. File private var delete imp, which is going to be any collectible model object to void. Self.delete imp. Oh god. No. Self.delete imp object. And then we want file private var new object imp, and this is going to be model setup block to any collectible object. I have to type that. And then here we can return and this is where things may get a little complicated. So self.new object imp setup block. Now the setup block may be the thing that throws us here. Oh, that would be yeah, so we could install that's one object. Oh, may have to do that. I need to force and wrap that. Oh, does work. So let's see if I can implement these. So any collection dot disable undo imp equals closure in self dot disable undo closure. Any collection dot delete imp equal object in object as model type. Else we're going to return false. And then no, we're not going to return, so we're just going to let's return. Otherwise, self.delete typed object. Okay, that complicates things a bit, but any collection dot object equal setup block in self. This is where things can get complex. Can I do godlet typed setup block as equals setup block as model setup block else turn else condition failure type return self dot object setup block setup block. Setup block. That's oh. Okay, so all I need to do is work out what invalid conversion from showing of that throws voids throws to throw at any point. I don't believe I do. Setup part was now but never used. That what? Oh, taking the setup part. Okay. So I need that for create and delete, for update objects, disable undo, object with ID. That's fine. And then for model writer, generate data for that. We get collection for type. We get all. And I think that's the only place we use type. Oh, we should be good. So I am going to end the stream now. Let's see if there is anyone streaming. Doesn't seem to be. Yeah, I don't think there is anyone. So, I think what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm going to see whether my cleanup command works. So if I do that, hey, it worked. I fixed all the bugs. So when I get the bugs working a bit more, I'll probably add another redeem, which is debug. So you can debug the stream and get rid of all the bugs. So yes, I think this has been a fairly good stream. I still need to figure out why the microphone's not working. It should be working because this new code, it should just pick up whatever the first microphone is, but oh well, I will figure that out. It was working before, so I don't know if it's like OBS is changing things or something like that, but anyway, I want to thank you all for coming. I will be back same time tomorrow and hopefully be able to do a bit of a longer stream. This has been very much a planning stream, and we've managed to slowly work down until we've hit the bottom, and we now have our any model collection, which will allow us to get our make our model writer and model reader generic, create a sort of generic plist, and then the plist will be able to load you'll be able to create versions of them that are specific to the app that will handle the migration. And once we have all of that in place, then we can do all the stuff that we wanted to do in the first place. And rather than bugs, this entire spaceship will be full of yak hair, because that will be many yaks shaved, just to add one new data type. Anyway, I want to thank you all for coming. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and hope you will join me again tomorrow. Thank you again to Kieran for raiding, and to Hugo on Dev for subscribing. And as always, happy coding.
Endeavor and all.